Hey guys, Michael B. the Game Genie here. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Today we're going to be talking about the next episode of Arcade1UpDate, and they are teasing a legendary guest. They're calling him a legend. And if it's the person that I think it is, it may mean that my personal dream of getting a Robotron 2084 Arcade1Up cab may be a little closer to becoming a reality. And I'm going to tell you more about it right after this. So that's right guys, in today's video we're going to be talking about the next episode of Arcade1UpDate, which has now been officially announced as coming up on Thursday, May 25th. And in the thumbnail for that video, they are teasing a legendary guest. And some people in the community have already cracked the code, potentially, on who this guest is. And if it is indeed the person that most people think it is, it's a legendary game designer, which could mean many of his other game titles could be coming to an Arcade1Up 3/4 scale, deluxe, or home arcade in the very near future. But before we get into that, I want to say thank you so much, everybody, for checking out the video. I always appreciate the support. If this is your first time to the channel, you like what you see, go ahead, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, all that YouTube jazz. If you follow Arcade1Up on YouTube, they officially posted their next live stream of Arcade1UpDate today on their YouTube channel. It's coming up in approximately 44 hours, according to the time when I'm filming this, on Thursday, May 25th at 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern. So it looks like they're going to be having an interview with a legend. Now, some people in the community have already cracked this code. So for anybody who's figured it out by simply looking at the thumbnail I made for this video, or if you saw Adrian Rain's post, I hope I said your name right, in the official or original Arcade1Up global fan page, you would know that the outline they've teased in their thumbnail pretty much perfectly matches this picture from Google of one Eugene Jarvis giving the thumbs up. Now, if you don't know who Eugene Jarvis is, well, you don't know much about arcade history, because he's one of the greatest game designers of all time. And he made what I think is the best arcade game and almost a perfect game in Robotron 2084. So Eugene will be joining the hosts of Arcade1UpDate, which hopefully is once again Travis MCP and David McIntosh, who make an excellent pairing, represent the company in such a good way during this show. It's an excellent forum for them to have a conversation with Eugene, pick his brain about developing some of the greatest arcade games of all time, finding out what he thinks about Arcade1Up, and maybe exploring some of the games that have come to Arcade1Up in recent history from Raw Thrills. Now guys, there's a litany of games that Eugene Jarvis could be coming on the show to discuss. He's an iconic game developer from his time at Bally Midway, where he made games like Defender and Smash TV, all the way to current day, where he's working for Raw Thrills and his work on the Cruisin' series, and of course Fast and the Furious. But the one I would be the most excited about him talking about is Robotron 2084. Now, I don't think this will come as a surprise to anybody, but you may have noticed my interest in Arcade1Up has somewhat dwindled in the last few months due to the fact that, I lost my home arcade space, so I no longer have the physical space in order to recreate or build a home arcade. I can now have less Arcade1Up, so I have to be a little bit more selective. And on top of that, the availability here in Canada hasn't been great. But one cabinet they could announce that would make me super excited is what I consider to be one of the perfect arcade games, maybe the best, my favorite at least, Robotron 2084. What I'm showing on screen is me doing a gameplay stream a couple months back where I actually play through Robotron 2084. I'm no good, but that doesn't mean I don't have a ton of fun and I don't enjoy playing over and over and trying to get better, learn the patterns, learn the repetition, and better my score. And this is the experience I want to have on an Arcade1Up home arcade. So I asked you to picture this: Arcade1Up developing a recreation of the original Robotron 2084 cabinet, one that actual physical home arcade collectors, go out of their way to get. It's a pricey cabinet. Most people just go and get a Multi-Williams instead, but people that are dedicated, that want the actual experience themselves and have the love and respect for home arcade, a grail game for them is in fact Robotron 2084, and I would love to see Arcade1Up perfectly recreate this with the right side art, with the right marquee, with the right bezel art, with the right control panel, everything perfect down to a T. And it gives me hope to see Eugene Jarvis working with the company in this interview, that this is closer to being a possibility than ever before. But I have to be honest with you, I've heard that Robotron 2084 was a possibility now for about 2.5 years, but not as the main game, but as a auxiliary game that will be included with a package that's headlined by Smash TV. Now, I can't argue with people. Smash TV is a beautiful cab too. For the people that want a Smash TV cab, I hope you get it. But for me personally, if it's not a recreation of the original Robotron, I'll probably just pass. That's not something I'm going to pick up because, I'm not getting a Robotron cab to play it on. So that's just my opinion. Now, I do want to take you back to another previous episode of Arcade1UpDate where David McIntosh did in fact say that Arcade1Up were going to be releasing another 80s title this year. He said, yes, we hear you. We hear your desire for 80s, so we are going to release a new 80s title this year, one that's never been released before. So it seems like now with this interview with Eugene Jarvis, all the stars are aligning, and we could potentially get a Robotron 2084 cab. I would be so happy. But we also have to be realistic here, because what game did Arcade1Up just recently release? That's right, The Fast and the Furious from Raw Thrills. And guess who developed it or designed it or worked on it? Eugene Jarvis. Apparently, Fast and the Furious is his baby and the continuation of the Cruisin' series. So maybe his main focus for being on the show is in fact to talk about The Fast and the Furious. So The Fast and the Furious has come out. They actually announced it on the last That One Up show, and the rumor is Eugene Jarvis was actually supposed to appear on that show. However, the timing for the show got changed to correlate with Best Buy's release window, and they didn't get to do it at their original slated time. And where Eugene Jarvis is on some kind of different time sphere, he couldn't make the show. I'm actually super happy about that, because this makes more sense that Eugene Jarvis would actually do an episode of Arcade1UpDate, because this is more the show where they ask the questions, the hard-hitting questions, and get answers on different things like basically community questions and the innermost working details of the game. This is a really good time as well, because as many people have pointed out in reviews and talking head videos, Arcade1Up The Fast and the Furious hasn't exactly been the biggest hit in terms of arcade accuracy. People are maybe a little disappointed in the port of the game, that it's not the real original arcade ROM of the original game, and the fact that it seems like it's the Fast and Furious Drift chopped into 2 games. So it'll be great to get some feedback from the man himself, Eugene Jarvis, who probably had something to do with the port, to explain why Raw Thrills made this decision to deliver this port to the Arcade1Up machine, and maybe his vision for the game and the series. Now, I also want you to keep in mind that most people who got the cabinet don't even seem to care about that stuff. They don't care that the game is chopped. They're just really enjoying it. And I would defer to Stephen Haywood, who's done some great coverage on his cab. Him and his family absolutely loved the experience. And most people who picked it up, who aren't caught up in the nitty-gritty details of the actual build of the cabinet, what's ported, and arcade accuracy, are just absolutely having a blast with this. So guys, that's it. It looks like Eugene Jarvis will in fact be the guest on this upcoming Thursday's episode of That One Up Show, where I assume he's going to be giving some updates and information on the Fast and the Furious, why it was done like it was done, what's the importance of Fast and the Furious Drift, and why they mainly used drift levels to recreate the original Fast and the Furious. So you'll get a lot of information about the port if you are concerned about what Arcade1Up did with the way the port was done and how the game was delivered. This will be a can't miss show to hear from the man himself, the original designer or person who worked on it, and contact with Arcade1Up on the game experience. And then on top of that, hopefully we can get some hints and some insight into future games coming out for Arcade1Up, maybe from Raw Thrills. There's a rumor of that big Buck Hunter cabinet re-release coming up in the deluxe format pretty soon. Maybe that will be addressed. And also, hopefully, this mystery 80s cab will come up in the discussion. And dear God, please let it be Robotron 2084. I would be so happy. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you think Eugene Jarvis's appearance on that 1UP show is going to be about? Will he be just talking about Fast and the Furious, or could he potentially talk about future Arcade1Up projects as well? Anyways, guys, I want to say thank you so very much for watching. This is Michael B. the Game Genie, and I'll talk to you next time.